Hey there, what's going on? I'm going to delete this here. Don't really need that. All right, keep it simple. Um, sorry I couldn't do yesterday. My daughter was in town for just a couple days, and yesterday was one of them, and I hadn't seen her since the wedding, so kind of made that a priority, as you would understand. You would do the same. Hey, Bob. Still experimenting with the camera placement. Man, I just cannot have any light on in this room. It's really dark in here, but it doesn't look dark in there. I don't know if the camera has any kind of controls. Because I'm using the camera. It's all right. It's fine. It looks good. It's fine if it's dark in here. It doesn't really matter to me. But it's amazing if I crack the window at all. It's sunny out. It's really windy, but look at that. It's like, what? I mean, that's just cracked right there. That's just a little bit of window. So I'm like, I got to stand up and close it at the top. There we go. So it's, yeah. Probably because part of the thing is the new cameras are aimed at, the new angle is aimed more at the windows than it was before. But I find that the camera placement is a little bit better for me because it makes me look more at you instead of off to the side or something like that. So kind of trying to connect a little bit more. Hey, let's see who we got. Sam, good to see you. I was doing some Greek bouzouki music yesterday, or this last week. We'll have more. It's really not Greek music at all. It's a video game, and it's different colors and things like that of instruments. The composer likes to have all sorts of different flavors and stuff like that. So the Greek bouzouki is just a flavor. It's just playing melodies for the most part. And some power chords too. I was doing power chords on bouzouki. Let's see. Hey, Jan, what's going on? Good to see you. Guten Abend, I think. Something like that. Good evening. Pierhead Jump. Good to see you again. San Francisco. San Francisco. Haven't been there in a while. Opa. Right? Hey, Wendy, good to see you. Hello. Yeah, it's cold here too. I of course went to Starbucks this morning, and it was 46 degrees when I left the house, which is pretty cold for Southern California, but it's been a very cold winter after a very mild summer. I think there's a chance we may have a 10-year cycle here where we're getting kind of this completely different weather. Same thing happened in the 50s and 60s in California. It was a lot cloudier back then, and some kind of weather thing that happened almost a decade, 55 to 65 or something like that. And apparently that's part of the reason why they did all those beach blanket bingo movies outside, because the weather was so perfect for filming. It's really not conducive for filming movies in bright sunlight, but overcast is much better. Was it Red? What was the movie, the Vietnam movie? Red something, Red Line, Red Dawn, Red something. The director, famous director, he would only film for like 10 minutes every day when the sun was just setting. It was like, what? Let's see, what else do we have? Ken Sherlock, good to see you again. Harbor Springs, oh man, 15 degrees in Harbor Springs. Yeah. And my daughter, she's down here to go to a conference in San Diego. Unfortunately, it's not going to be particularly warm in San Diego, but compared to Spokane, it's about 30 degrees warmer, so she's happy. Buford Skipper, I'm happy to do it. Actually, you guys are doing me a favor, because my job, when I moved to California in 1983 to do session work, it's kind of one of those jobs where you had to play well with others. You had to get along with other people. Maybe that's why I didn't succeed. No, but it was a group effort. It was a team sport. And so much of session work has become, and not because of COVID, I've been doing this for 20 years now where I'm working from home on my own computer with my own gear. It saves a lot of money. They don't have to hire an engineer or rent a studio to record me if I can do it myself. So it saves them money, the people that are hiring me. And then I also can take my time and get it right. I was just thinking about just last night, doing, like I was telling Sam that I was doing some bouzouki playing on a video game, computer game, or a video game score, and I had to kind of punch in a bunch on it because it was just like I had to tune it, because I was playing really high on the thing, and I have a cheap bouzouki, and so the intonation isn't great. So I would tune these, so I would tune it so it was in tune up here, and play that section, and do all those sections, and then go and do, and that's something you might not do if you're in a room with other musicians. It's just you can't do that. Maybe that would mean I would have to buy a better bouzouki that was more in tune. And if I was getting a lot of bouzouki calls, I probably would. But I'm fine with a cheap bouzouki, and if I just have to, it's called tempered tuning, where you tune it kind of where you need to tune it. Sometimes I'll even capo so that I have a really, like a solid, 0 fret, and then I can tune from there. And make sure everything up above it is in tune, and then record all those parts, and then record the lower stuff, and tune. Obviously tune again. It's just one of those things. Genevieve tuning. Is that French? Sounds French. But yeah, Buford. So my point is, I like doing this. Actually, that's Bufford. Buford would be 1F. But anyway, I may call you Buford. I'll call you Skipper. Hey, Bruce, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for giving everybody a heads up about yesterday. Sorry about that. I wasn't able to do yesterday. But yeah, so it's a kind of a lonely job now, and I'm a people person, and I often say I get my energy from other people. So I may be tired during the day here, but if I'm around other people, I get a lot of energy, and I steal their energy, and then they're tired after being with me, and like, why am I so tired after hanging out with Tom? No, it's just it's a very usually I'm here on Mondays. Usually I do this on Monday, so we might get some new people, and some other people saying, where were you? So basically my daughter was in town for a couple days, so I just want to make sure I was with her yesterday for as long as I could be, and then Beth took her down to San Diego. So let's see what's going on. Okay, and I was also a little late even still. My intention was to actually be early, but then I got the brilliant idea to start recording something, and I couldn't stop. But I'm actually, probably have it done today. I'm going to do a more elongated bluegrass jam, okay? And I got to comment again, that's not bluegrass, probably because the drums are in it. So I won't have drums in this. It'll be bass, 2 guitars, maybe mandolin, probably not. Because the reason probably not is because what I ended up doing, what took me so long was, usually I like these to be like 12 minutes long or something, right? So that you don't have to rewind them and you can get a lot of jamming. But what I mean by elongated, my bluegrass jam that has, it's got like, what is it? 250,000 views. So that's a lot of views. And I've been using it to practice my my mandolin scales. The thing is I feel like the chords change too fast. I'm like, I start working on my G scale and it goes to C, and I'm like, shoot, I got to work on, So I wanted to spend more time on it. So the bluegrass jams that I have up are 1 bar each chord, basically. Like that. So what I did was I doubled everything. So everything is twice as long as far as the chords staying on each chord. So it's like... So that way you can kind of set settle in that chord for a minute. I mean, I could even do ones that are just like G, just strumming G for 10 minutes. And that wouldn't actually be a bad thing at all. But so you can practice, all the different scales, because when we're playing bluegrass jams, we used a lot of scales. So over G, we could use G major, G mixolydian. We could use G major blues, or major pentatonic. We could use G minor pentatonic. Oops. We could use G minor pentatonic blues. I do that a lot, actually. It's like, it sounds great over bluegrass stuff. Or you could do major pentatonic, which is kind of the foundation for the classic bluegrass lick. It's just major pentatonic with an added flurd. Flurd. That's my shorthand for flat third, flurd. So from now on, I'm going to say flurd. And if I ever say flurd again, we have to take a sip. That's a new drinking rule. So who's keeping tabs of the drinking rules? Gary's not here. We'll have to let Gary know if I ever say flird again, meaning flat third, because I'm lazy. I'm super duper lazy. I have 825 plus videos. That's insane. Actually, I'm having to go back, Bruce. I have to go back to all my videos and put commission earned before all those links. I mean, I don't. They haven't cited me or said anything to me about it, but because technically I'm advertising, I guess. So I'm an advertiser, so you have to tell people you're advertising. I'm like, those are just links. I don't know. Anyway, I mean, I am technically making recommendations. But I'm not really saying, I'm just saying this is what I use. I'm not saying use this. I said that my gear, this is the pick and the pick I'm using here is the Wiegand. I think if you go to Wiegand Picks or Google WiegandPicks.com, or go to WiegandPicks.com or Google Wiegand Picks, you can buy these picks. They're kind of pricey. I think you get 3 of these for or 2 for 15 or something. I really love the Django picks. I use this pick all the time. They may be about $8 a pop, but they really cut. And this one's 3.5 millimeters, so it's super duper thick. And I like that. Sometimes for strumming, it's a little annoying. I used for this bluegrass jam, I used this Wiegand pick, which is 1.5, I think. This is technically called the bluegrass pick, I think. But I'll often use a thinner pick, like a 1 millimeter, to get a brushier sound when I'm doing strumming. But we're going to keep talking about chord embellishments and things like that, and I'm going to try to think of some different other things that we can do. Because I should pick up an electric. Maybe next week I'll do some electric ones. Okay. But it's one of those things I get asked a lot about. Like, how do you like make it more interesting? When you're playing chords and things like that. And oftentimes, if you're the only guitar player, your main job, let's say you're in a trio, it's guitar, bass, and drums. Your main job is kind of keep the whole thing going. But that's really the drummer and the bass player's job. I mean, listen to Van Halen. Eddie would play lines. He wouldn't play power chords. I don't think you ever heard Eddie play a power chord in his life. What was it? I can't think of it. But he would do a lot of lines and phrases, and that's what made him such an amazing outside the box guitar player. And I watched Lukather interview with Rick Beato, and Luke was good friends with Eddie Van Halen, and he said that Eddie wasn't doing those, like, all the two-handed stuff, tricks and all that stuff to be tricks and to be like show-offy things or necessarily or like circus freak kind of stuff. He was doing it because he was hearing that music in his head. Remember, he played piano And so, you know, something like it would be kind of fairly easy on piano. And he was trying to voice these things that he heard on piano on the guitar a lot of times. And he was trying to fill out things. So getting two hands on the guitar when you're in a guitar trio, Jimi Hendrix had his tricks that he did. Jimi Hendrix was the master of the chord embellishments. He could do that, and that's why I'm going to bring up the electric guitar next week. We'll do chord embellishments. We're going to get, so you might want to get your electric guitar out next week because we will do. Oh dang! Wait, you got. Oh, hey, Joseph. Oh, back in May, I was like, you got an appointment for an emergency. I'm like, in May? How do you schedule an emergency? Oh, dang. Stomach and leg pressure and pain. Yeah. Oof. Can't sit and play guitar. Can you lay down and play guitar? I used to lay down and play guitar. Not because I was in pain, though. Because I was really lazy. But Jimi Hendrix was very good at like bar chords and you know, embellishing bar chords and stuff like that. And it's kind of all about finding notes and experimenting and finding notes that work. So so when people say, you know, they want me to help them make their playing more interesting, I get that. And you just have to make sure that when you're making your playing more interesting, if you're accompanying, let's say it's just you and a singer, or you're accompanying yourself. Now that's a different thing altogether because it's really hard to kind of like break off and do licks while you're singing a different melody. But so you would never do that. But you also wouldn't do that when someone else is singing. And so, you know, that would be a different thing if you were to try to say, okay, I'm going to, you know, you do like hit a chord and then play licks and stuff like that. That's, I mean, you can do that. That would be something that would be feasible. You know, I'll do that a lot if I'm practicing something like I'll hit an E9 chord and I'll. But I wouldn't necessarily call that accompaniment. So when we think of chord embellishments, we think of more just something subtle maybe you can do while you're keeping the thing going. And the thing could be a groove, it's a song, you know, you got changes, maybe you have a lot of changes. And so one of the first things you can do is try to think like a bass player and just do bass transitions. So say we're doing Creep by Radiohead. We can. So that first chord is G, then B7, and I went, because that's something a bass player might do, chromatically lead into that B note. So I'm going G, and then I'm doing A sharp, and B, and I'm going to that B7. And one of the things I did with the B7, every chord kind of has its own thing. Now, technically, if I'm playing a B7 chord, chances are I'm in the key of E, but not in this song. This song in Creep, and also it's a Holly song, and then Lana Del Mar did a song based on the same progression, so she got in trouble for it, but Radiohead didn't really. But what was the song by the Hollies that Radiohead copied? I mean, they didn't copy. I don't even think they were thinking. It's just they're both British, and it's just kind of a British progression. But it's a dominant 3 chord. And that's the 3 of that's the 5 chord of the minor 6. Normally you would go to that E minor there. So so if this were a pop song, it would do that. But because this is Radiohead, it uses that B7 to kind of go to the C chord. So you got that half step motion there and half step motion here. But that's just chromatic. That could go anywhere. And that A kind of wants to go down to G. So you get this. It's beautiful motion. And then they go to C minor, the minor 4 chord, which is a very Beatles thing to do, right? I love this. I mean, Radiohead doesn't like the song. Everybody requests it. It's the only song most people know of Radiohead, and they never play it. So, but I'm just thinking like a bass player. I can even do that slower. I don't have to do. I can go. More of like eighth notes. 3, 4, and 1. You don't have to 3, 4, and a 1. Okay, but that's simple way you can make it a little bit more interesting, especially on the repeat. So the first time maybe you do that. The second time, or the next time or later, because you have options, because that song is literally the same chords over and over again. And I'm only using that song as an example because so many songs are like that, where you're doing the same chords over and over and over again. But because we're not technically really in the key of E, because B naturally is the 5 chord in the key of E, because G would not be in the key of E, right? It would be G sharp. This is the 5 of the E chord. The Air That We Breathe was the Holly song, right, which was a hit. But because we're not technically in the key of E, we're basically playing the 5 of the 6th chord, 5 of E minor in the key of G. You can slide up and hit that G note. So play that B7. So it's B7 is nothing on the bottom string. Hollies are still performing. Yeah, they are, aren't they? This is B7, okay? You can get that down. That's a very usable chord too. It's not always a substitute for B because you can't always get away with having that A natural. It will sound kind of hokey in some situations, like if you're in the key of, let's say you're in the key of F sharp or something and you go to that, you need a B chord. You really can't substitute B7 for every B chord. But it is one that's a lot easier to play than this one. Okay, so, and then because we're really technically in the key of G, you can slide that F sharp up to G. So yeah. So there's another embellishment you can do, and it's C. It goes to C minor, and it's nice if you can do that minor chord. The problem with that minor chord, the problem I have with that minor chord is it's a bar chord. And not because it's a bar chord, I don't have a problem with bar chords. I don't like the fact that there's no open strings there. We went from a G chord, which potentially has, three open strings if we play it with the D string, the G string, and the B string open, to a B7 chord, which only has 1 string open, but for some reason it sounds like a very open chord. It just has that B string open, but it's still ringing out, and it's a common tone from that G. So if you don't put any finger on that B string on the G chord, then when you go to the B chord, it should continue ringing out. So there's that continuity. And that's one of the things you learn in voice leading. And voice leading is what basically is the music theory term for going from one chord to another. All right? So when you go from G to C, that's voice leading. And how you get there, G to C, you oftentimes want to not change a voice if you don't have to. Like if you go from this G to this C, you've got nothing but parallel motion there. So whoever's singing this note has to go up here, and whoever's singing this note has to go up here, and whoever's singing this note has to go up here. But if you go from this G, let's say this G to this C, then whoever's singing this G note on the D string can stay there. And this would be much better voice leading than this. Okay? Now, so like you can see here when I go from this G to this C, I've got pretty decent voice leading, and that's what happens when you have an open string and it carries over. Whoever's technically singing, in this case it's the B string that's singing that B note. And I could carry that to the C. I could make it a C major 7, because that's what he sings. And then I take that C. Here's a C major 7. These are great chords. C major 7, I'm playing like this. Nothing on the bottom string, then 3, 2, 0, 0, 0. All right. And then the next chord I'm playing is C minor with a major 7. And that is pretty darn simple too. Sounds complex. Don't ever judge a chord by its name, because it'll sound more complex than it is. But that's C minor. See, there's your C minor. And I'm going, oh shoot, no, that E string can't be open. Sorry, I messed up. So C minor with a major 7. Can I delete that? Remove. Boom. I just moderated myself. Okay, so it might be a little more complex. It's X, and then because we're having minor, we can't have that open E string. But you can add your pinky on the G note, and boom, you've got this really beautiful chord. It kind of sounds like a G augmented chord a little bit. But you got a C in the bass. So we have a C minor triad, C, E flat, G. Don't worry, there won't be a quiz on it. Everybody take a sip. No quiz. We have a C minor triad, and then we have a B on top. And normally if you had C minor 7 or C, you would have like a C, E flat, and a B flat. Yeah, it just spiked, Bruce. I can see it right here. We were sitting at like 16, and now it's up to 30, which is awesome. 32. Everybody's starting to show up. It's like, oh, Tom's on. Let's hang out. AJ's in the house. That's why. AJ has 15 computers. He all logs on to me at the same time. What if you all did that? What if you all took all of your devices and logged on to this stream right now? Like take your phone, log on to the stream, go iPad, log on to the stream, any computer in the house. we could have 100 people, 200 people watching this stream. Lurking, Alan's lurking. And so that's kind of a substitute for a C minor chord. It depends on the context. If you're in the key of C minor, it's not going to work. But if you're in C harmonic minor, that's definitely a chord that could be done in C harmonic minor. But G to B7 to C major, or C major 7 to C minor. If I left that pinky on the top string, now I've got, so if we look, again, I'm talking about voice leading. Doesn't really have necessarily anything to do with chord embellishments, but I just thought it was interesting to, when you look at this, if I play this progression this way, G like this, B7 with the open B string, C major 7, maybe with that G on top, and then C minor with a major 7 with a G on top. Okay, that B string stays all the way through there, so I can sing it. And that's one of the amazing things about music, and one of the things I love about harmony is that note. All right, that note has a different relationship to each one of those chords and thus carries a different emotion. You're singing the same one note, but each time it has a different quality of emotion, a different association that it has with it. When you're playing the B note over a G chord, it's just the third. Over the B7, it's just the root. But it's still different though. Now you're playing the major sevenths. That's an interesting voice over that C chord. And over the C minor chord, you're playing, it's also the major seventh, but it's got a much more haunting quality to it. See, over the C major chord, that B note, that major seventh has kind of a sexy quality. A sexy quality, yes it does. Hey Sadie, what's going on? Paul Meyer's in the house. Oh, you're lurking in triplicate. Are you really? Do you naturally do that? So you logged in, and then all of a sudden I got like a jump of 3. Oh, what chord is that? That's C over G. That's a great chord, by the way. And I'm getting fuzzy. I don't know why the camera's trying to refocus. C over G is a great chord because it's what it is. It's a 6-string C chord. And C, you could even take off the first string and play. That would be a C major 7 over G. But that's what that is, a C over G. Or you could call it a second inversion C chord. And I can explain that in a second. But so the voice leading on that B note doesn't change on all those chords. Cool, huh? And then if I leave the pinky on the top string, then that note changes only on the B7 chord, and then back to up for the C major 7, and so I'm not going to sing that note, but I'll sing it down an octave. But yeah, so that's called harmony or voice leading. And if one of the tricks is to try to, if you don't have to move a note, don't move it. Anytime you have common tones. Now, one of the trickier things to harmonize or to voice lead is the 4 to the 5 chord. Going from C to D, there are no common tones between those two. So that's oftentimes why you see people do C2 when they're going to a D chord, partially because it may be easy, but also partially because now when you add that second to the C chord, that's a D note. So now you have a common tone between the C chord and the D chord if you make that C chord a C2 chord. And you could do the converse. You could play a C and add a C to the D chord, and that creates a C D7 chord, which again, if you have a C and a D in a song, you're probably in the key of G, which means D is the 5. Don't worry, there won't be a quiz on this. Everybody take a sip. Won't be a quiz on this. But when you go from C to D7, you don't lift off your first finger, you just leave it right there. And you can see there's some common tone. And then you go to G, and that C note goes down by half step to G. And that's the other thing. When it comes to voice leading, if you have to try to change as little as possible. I always kind of say when you're soloing, over something that's diatonic, and you hit a bad note, say you hit a B flat, the correct you can fix it by going either up a half step or down a half step or up a whole step or down a whole step. It's usually even just a half step. If you hit a bad note, you can fix it by moving one finger. So you're really not too far away from a note that works. And that's the same thing true with voice leading. You don't really have a lot of choice when it comes to the bass. Okay? When I studied voice leading in high school and in college, we would do it looking at hymnals. And the thing about hymnals, great source of looking at examples of voice leading. the bass, you got to move wherever it moves. You don't really have a choice. If the bass goes 1, 6, 4, 5, you got to do that. Okay. If the melody is, the melody is the melody, so you can't really change that, and you don't want a one-note melody for the most part. I mean, John Lennon would disagree, but for the most part, you want a melody that's interesting and moves around and all that. So you could have, something like that might be your melody, and the bass might be going whatever. But it's those inside the alto and the tenor lines that you want, that are the ones that you get to you get to choose what those are. And so that's what we would do. We would have a melody given to us and a bass note given to us, and we'd have to fill out the harmony. And it was a great challenge. And again, if you were just to take your G chord here and then go to C chord here and then go to G chord here and D chord up here, everything's parallel. It's going to be really all over the place. It's going to be really hard for the altos and the tenors to find their notes. But if and I've used this example with Sing a String. I'm just singing the G note. Whatever note's on the G string, that's the note I'm singing. And that allows me to kind of come up with a harmony that's real simple that'll work over the song if someone's going. I can go. I could do that. It'll work with that melody because it's supporting the harmony. And I call it Sing a String. Hey, Adam, what's going on? Good to see you. Let's see. Can C minor be played on the first? Can C minor be played like a D7 on the first fret? D, G, and B strings. Oh, like this. That would be C minor. If you want to play, dang, that camera's still not focusing. Hold on, let me just mess it up a little bit and see if it seems like my guitar's out of focus. I'm kind of I don't mind being out of focus a little bit. It's like having a cheese filter. But yeah, I actually use this voicing a lot. You could play C like that. Okay, so what I'm doing is first fret on the D string, open G string, first fret on the C string. This would be C sharp minor. Did you say C sharp minor? No, you said C minor. So that would be C sharp minor. Also looks like A major 7 if you played the A note in the bottom. But I like that voicing if I'm going to grab, like if I'm going to be doing some swells or something on a piece of music. If I'm looking for a nice minor chord, I like this one because it's on the higher strings, but it's not on the first strings. Like it's the same, like that. It's the same voicing as that for F sharp minor, which that's fairly easy if you can bar the top 3 strings. The nice thing about this voicing, it's a little bit meatier, so I can wiggle it. So when I'm doing chord swells, you can kind of keep it going. It'll ring longer if you can wiggle it a little bit. Hey Jeff, what's going on? What kind of camp? I got a fairly new one. It's a Logic, I think. Sorry, Logi. It's a Logi. It was recommended on. See, and I don't have any software for it, which is the weird thing. It didn't come with any kind of driver, but OBS immediately recognized it. So OBS is the software I'm using. And now, of course, it's totally out of focus. Come on, come back. I'm wondering if it's just not enough light. But see, that's too much light. I just cracked that window just a little bit, and I get all that light. Look at all that light. Okay, now it's focused. All right. Yeah, I could hook up my good cameras to the thing. The problem is then I guess the computer would charge them while it seems okay right now. My main thing is that you can see my hands, not my face. But yeah, I like this voicing of a minor chord. So you're not too far off there, I would say. So if you play D7 and you just move it down a string, and limit those 3 strings. The E string's good in this voicing, but if you go down a fret, that's not going to work. Or up. But I do like that voicing if you need a little voicing. Like if I'm doing something in A minor, I might go. I like that voicing. That's fine too. And I got a lot, because it's a one finger voicing, I've got a lot of things I can do with it. Hold on. I gotta shut this in earnest. There we go. So there's a lot of stuff I can. Soul, you know, add that ninth, it always sounds so soulful. Anyway, to answer your question, it feels like you need glasses or you're drunk. I know, right? Sorry about that. Or not. Maybe I'm not sorry about that. Yeah, it's just weird. I changed the light and I don't know. Yeah, so Jeff is always a problem solver. Yeah, something is confusing the focusing, so it doesn't happen very often. I can go a whole live stream without that happening, but so I'm kind of talking about chord embellishments. Really not so much fills and riffs. It's more I'm talking about voice leading, but yeah. So if you don't have to change voices, sometimes that makes for the most interesting harmonies when you're playing some. Piano players know this. It's they really feel it. Guitar is much more difficult to feel that kind of movement. It's not very common to just take a chord and move it up, 5 frets and go, okay, now there's the 4 chord. No, that doesn't usually sound very good. No, people are, power chords don't have a choice. It's like, that's all parallel movement. And rock guitar defied the rules of music theory. And that was part of the reason why I think a lot of the old school people hated it from the get-go, was because of, like, harmonically speaking, you shouldn't have parallel fifths or parallel octaves. Well, that defines the power chord. Interesting thing about that song, though, he's not playing that, all right? He's actually playing something that has more common tones. He's barring. So if you listen on the first and third chord, he's actually playing a sus chord. So he's actually playing F, C, F, and a B flat. So when he goes from that F sus to the B flat chord, he's got a common tone. And there's actually technically 2 common tones, because there's an F in both the B flat power chord and the F power chord. I noticed in Summer Breeze, the vocalist would have been Seals, right? He sings a major note into a minor as the guitar goes from E major. He actually changed it. So, I'd have to listen to it again. I'm not sure. That was one of my favorite songs as a kid growing up. One of the first songs I learned how to play that I don't now remember how to play. Jeff. But yeah, it's yeah, and the cool thing about that, like that major 7th over the C minor chord, that you could actually sing if it was the right key. again, that's not really. It's just going to a minor chord. The B note works because we're in the key of G, and B is the third of the G chord. So you're really, when you sing that, what you're really doing is kind of anticipating what's coming. If you never went to the G chord, it might not work, but actually C minor with a major 7 to E minor sounds great too. You can go to E minor 7 too. Don't even need any fingers for that one. What's happening there's such cool voice leading is that E's going down to E flat, and then the E flat's going down to the D that's in the E minor 7. So you get this. Brazilian music does that a lot. That kind of movement where you get the, you know, the. You'll get the. I can do this here. I actually want to do a series of exercises, the musical exercises that use those kind of things. I've been wanting to do that for a while. I have some, but I haven't finished them. Let's see. Another example of note and chord harmony relationships is kind of that pseudo common jazz turnaround. So if I'm in the key of, say, G, and you'll notice that note, that G note, I'm just playing G on top, has a different relationship to the chords on every one of those chords. So over the D7 chord, I can play D7 chord. It's the 4th of the 11th. Over the C sharp 7, it's the flat 5. Over the C7, it's the 5. I'm sorry, it's a flat 5. Did I say flat 5? It's a 5. And then over the B7, it's a sharp 5. Over the B flat 7, it's the 13th or the 6th. Over the A7 is the 7th. Over A flat, I went ahead and made a major chord and put this G on there because I don't want the 7th and the major 7th in the same chord. I play a triad. But basically, kind of what I'm doing is I'm just taking this 7th chord or whatever, but however you want to end on the G chord. But I'm just basically chromatically moving a dominant 7th chord down until I get to that A, and then I'm A flat, sorry, and then I make it a major, and then there. So and that's kind of a cool little ending. Hey, Luce, what's going on? Keys Cook, what's going on? That's tight. You like that? Yeah, it's cool, right? You know, it's just a trick. So again, what I'm doing is it's a major dexterity challenge. You can do this though, lots of different ways. But all I'm doing is I'm just visualize this. This is a D7. I'm going to write it down for you so you have it. Okay, it's a D7. D7. All sorts of new people here. So that's 10, nothing, 10. Wait. Okay, it's hard to do this. Nothing, 10. It's hard to do it when I have double-digit frets. Okay, that's our D7 chord, like that. That's a great little voicing too. It's kind of a gypsy voicing. So if I were to do a gypsy jazz. But that's, yeah, so just take that and then put the G on top. And then just take that, move that down. And by hook or by crook, keep that G note on top. So it's like, oh my God, that's cool. And I might do this chord, but that sets it up. And then just if you watch the bottom string, the fourth string, and the third string, it's pretty much the same thing all the way down, but I have to change my fingerings. Notice my fingerings change. And then here, and then obviously that's not for the faint of heart. That's an adult chord. And then I'm just setting on a G chord. All right, but you know, you can do these kind of things with, you know, like in a pop context. I'm just going down the G major scale, you know, harmony-wise, but keeping that F sharp on top, which is a beautiful note. On the D chord, it's just the third, but on the C chord, it's this sharp 11, which is gorgeous. Over the B minor, it's the fifth, but I'm not really playing. I'm playing more like a G over B, so it's a major seventh. I did throw in that B flat in there for drama, but then over the A, I'm playing D over A. I could also. Do I remember the theme? Which one? I played all the themes. Yeah, I did all. Yeah, whenever I talk about, just so you know, Luce, if I say I played all the guitars on Apex Legends. In fact, I was working on Apex last week, and I'm working on it this week. We all take a sip. It's one of our drinking rules. So if you've got a coffee cup, or if you got some water, or if you've got whatever, take a sip. Oh, I figured. Yeah, thanks, Bruce. But that's cool. So, you know, you're taking a harmony and you're moving it around, but you're keeping one note on top, and it makes it kind of cool. Like, you know, there's a song called by Antonio Carlos Jobim, called One Note Samba, and it's basically this. This is kind of that kind of thinking. Coffee time. Baron, what's going on? And that could also maybe apply to a lick. Let's say I could do. And this does. This does kind of apply now. We've kind of gone full circle and got back to chord embellishments, riffs and fills. Because when you're searching for things to embellish a chord you're playing, you don't necessarily, it doesn't necessarily have to follow the chord. This is, I guess, the lesson we learned from this. You can actually have something that works over a different chord. As long as it works, it works. So, I mean, you wouldn't want to overuse something like maybe every other chord. I could do it here, but I choose not to. But you maybe go, okay, that thing I do over D, I'm not going to use it over D at all. I'll save it for the C chord. I won't use it over the G chord. And that's the beauty of being very diatonic. What I mean by that is you're playing in one key the whole time. With jazz, we're constantly moving. We're constantly moving keys, and you're not in one key for very long. But with pop music or country or rock or anything, you're oftentimes in the same key the whole time. I think that's one of the things that Rick Beato and Steve Lukather were talking about. They were kind of lamenting the fact that songs don't really change key anymore. Like Rosanna changes keys every chorus. because the chorus was too high for Bobby Kimball. So they just lowered it down a whole step and went, okay, we'll just change the key. And it just worked. You know, it's like... But if you're in the key of G, anything you do over any one of those chords that sounds beautiful over any chord in the key of G will sound beautiful over any of the other chords for the most part. One of my favorite things to do over G is that thing. Okay, all I'm doing there is I'm playing like the tuning note for G. So I'm playing 2 Gs. I'm at the fifth fret of the fourth string. And I'm going down to the 4th fret, and I'm going down to the 2nd fret and open. Maybe not as strong over the D, but it still works. And you could use it as a transition to the G chord. So if I'm going... but basically what I'm doing is kind of using the G string against itself. I'm playing unison Gs. You don't really notice right now that I'm playing 2 strings. But once I go down to that F sharp and play against that open G string, you get that minor second and it just rubs. It creates dissonance. But the dissonance is found inside a very pretty chord, a G major 7 chord. So really, but you're also only there for a second. So you don't really, you're not sitting on it. It doesn't have time to, you know. It doesn't rub like that. Those are all minor seconds too, but those rub. That rubs too by itself, but in the context of a G chord. Yeah, I have a lot of loose. I've done a lot of beginner videos, and I've got a million. When COVID dropped, and I was like thinking my career was over or something. I don't know what I was thinking. But when COVID hit, I started doing a daily live stream and had basically themes for those. I did think the first 12 were on the caged method. That might be a little advanced for a beginner, but yeah, I've got some beginner stuff. Beginner strumming. Chords in different keys. You can go through my whole. I have a playlist. If you go to the playlist called Basics, I think all that stuff. A lot of basic stuff is in there. Strumming and then strumming grooves. That's a different playlist. So you can just kind of work your way through those playlists and see which ones are the the simplest for you to get going. But yeah, and again, what I say in my 7 tips for older beginners: Don't try to do something don't try to bite off more than you can chew at first. Set attainable goals so that you're not discouraged, because you got to fight discouragement, because you're going to get discouraged learning the guitar. For every guitar player, there's 40 that quit playing guitar, or for every guitar in a house that's being played in a house, there are 5 in the closet. They're never getting played again, and that's sad. And part of that is because people had unreasonable expectations for themselves. Particularly older, players. The older you get, the slower your hands are. They don't learn new things very easily. And so, I'm not looking forward to the day where I'm having to deal with maybe arthritis or something like that. I don't know that playing makes me less likely to develop that, but. But I've got things that I do to warm up my fingers. I should show that to the. that's a very diatonic warm up. I'm playing basically 13th chords, arpeggios. It's every other note in the scale. It's cool sounding. Oops. I can flat the 9. That'll be hard. I'm not used to those. So, hey, Adam, what's going on? yeah, it's, and who was it that just, was it, she's not here today, but, dang it, what's her name? In Alabama. Shoot, sorry. She watches later. She'll be like, you don't remember my name? But she sent me a meme. It's like, don't think about all the songs you can't play. Think about all the songs you couldn't play and that you can now. So that's actually really, I think, a great advice for learning anything. Don't think about, the fact that you can't hit a tennis ball 120 miles an hour. Remember that you couldn't hit it 60 miles an hour. So, same, it could be, that could be said for learning anything. I'm touching my face, which technically is a COVID violation. I personally think, of course, I'm going to get, my video is going to get taken down now. I personally think COVID was invented by church ladies who wanted us to not sneeze, not pick our nose, not fart, and not touch our face. Because all the things they told us spread COVID were all things our mothers have been telling us not to do since we were little kids. Don't fart in public. Farting causes COVID. I'm like, oh my gosh. It was like everything was, I'm like, every time they came out with a new one, I was like, wait a minute. Church ladies. Pepper. Thank you, Bruce. Dang it. I could not think of Pepper. So Pepper sent me that meme. I should find it and post it on my Facebook. I'm not really doing much with my Facebook channel. I should probably do more. I may drop a new video today. It's very easy for me to do. I just, like I said, at the beginning of this video, one of my biggest viewed videos is the Bluegrass Jam. And I've been using it myself. And I actually, I have the recording, but I'd rather go ahead and do it on YouTube so I get the view, right? And when I'm practicing my mandolin scales, but I'm like, it changes too fast. The strumming's not too fast. It's just it sits on G chord. And I'm like, that's great. But I kind of want to work on my G mixolydian scale and then my C mixolydian scale, then my D mixolydian scale in each, on the mandolin, and it just changes too fast. So I just played it. I actually ended up, normally I would play like 4 times through and then loop it 5 more times or something like that. I actually played it all the way through, so it was like 12 minutes of me banging away. I had to punch in a couple times because I tried something and it didn't work. And I went, yeah, I'm not going to leave that in there. So, but I did the Martin, and so that's going to be on one side. I'm not sure which. And then this is the Taylor that my cousin Kenton gave me. My favorite cousin, Kenton. And it's not my favorite cousin because he gave me a guitar. But he's one of the few cousins. Some people have cousin relationships that are like brother and sister. I don't really have, my cousins are kind of all over the place, so I don't really see them. I saw them maybe once a year growing up kind of thing. But yeah, Kent is one that's intentionally stayed in touch with me. And I've tried to be reciprocal on that. In fact, I'm going to see him hopefully, maybe next week. It's a beautiful guitar. It's a 25th anniversary Taylor. It's if you want to know the model number, it's a XXVGA. Beautiful wood. Look at the back. Look at that. I forget what the wood is. It's set on the website. You can see the reflection. You can see what I'm seeing on the live stream. But yeah, so that's beautiful though. Oh shoot, it went blurry again. Because I did that. Really? Camera? Camera? You know, probably part of the reason is it's trying to focus in the center, right? Like right here, whatever the center of the image is, like right about there, square. And so, but even if that were the case, this logo would be not blurry. Okay, so now, see? Yeah, weird. Let me see. I'll do the. Okay, is Kathy there? Kathy watches me on like a 65-inch TV, and I'm always like, "What is that? What's over there?" I'm like always peering into her office. Yeah, XXVGA, exactly, Wendy. Thank you. Was there any number associated with that? No, XXVGA. Look it up; it'll tell you what kind of wood. Yeah, best wishes to Kenton. He's battling cancer right now in Phoenix, and like I said, that's why I went to see him. And his sister Leslie, my other cousin who I love dearly, she's taking care of him. God bless. She taken 3 months off from work to take care of him. But he was he would watch my videos, and I think he was even on the live stream sometimes. But yeah, Kenton his dad was friends with Stan Kenton, so he named him Kenton. If you're a jazz fan, you know who Stan Kenton is, or was. Great musician, great arranger. Oh, you're basically a Hendrix now. Well, that's great. I hope so. Yeah, and let's see what else is going. What time is it? Oh, it's not that late. So maybe I can talk a little bit more about. So if you do find a fill that works over a chord, if you're in the same key, you know, like. You know, again, I'm kind of gravitating towards the country bluegrass thing. But I'm actually just hammering on my second finger on the A string to the second fret. And that's the little teeny tiny riff we do over the G chord to make it not so boring. You wouldn't want to do it all the time, but. Yeah. But that works nice over the E minor. Over the C, it's kind of like a leading thing. Because it's so low, it's below the root note of the C chord. But it actually works. It kind of works on the D chord because it's kind of that 5/6 root lick. We haven't ever really talked about that, but it's part of the bluegrass lick. That thing. It's a Monkeys. What song is that? Monkey song. But that's the. Is that a curly mahogany on the back? I'm gonna be careful now because I don't want it to refocus. So this is actually, in this context, I'm hitting the second to the third to the fifth. And then over the E minor, it's the fourth to the fifth to the seventh. But you might... Again, you might pick and choose where you use that lick. It might be a riff that you would normally use over G chord and don't use it at all over G chord, and use it over the other chords because it's more interesting over those. It's more unexpected. That's a chord embellishment. That's a classic. And when I'm doing it over the C chord, I'm hitting the sixth to the major seventh to the second to the root, which is kind of cool because you're kind of surrounding that root note. You're boxing it in. It has nowhere to go, and you have to go to the C chord. It's kind of cool. I've never done that before. And then over the D chord, it's that 5-6-1 thing. Whatever the chord progression is. I'm a believer. Thank you. I knew somebody out there knew. I love the Monkees. When I was a kid, I wanted to be Davy Jones. In fact, that was my first instrument. When I turned 7, my dad gave me a tambourine for my birthday. And because that's what Davy Jones played. I didn't get the guitar till my 9th birthday, so 2 years later. So I had to pretend to be Davy Jones for 2 years. And then so learning your scales, like for example, a G major pentatonic, like if we're in the key of G, we get that G major pentatonic, which is the same as E minor pentatonic. That can be a great source of embellishments. And again, whatever embellishment you come up with should translate to all the other chords. So check this out. So all I did was I went melodically. That's what was happening on that guitar part. I'm just making this up on the spot here. Trying to make it work with a D chord. Now I'm just going up to like. I'm in 6/8. That's a great way to kind of, otherwise you'd be, now it might distract from the melody a little bit if you're accompanying a singer, but maybe that would be a break. Now they want to take a trip through the chord progression and not sing over it, so you need to come up with some kind of transition. Well, that would be where you do these embellishments. So that's a trick you can use where you're taking a scale and turning it into a chord embellishment and then trying it over all the other chords. And that's a little like redundant and maybe a little like kind of can be a little annoying after a while, but it might be something you would use over, you might. Only use it over the C chord in that chord progression or something like that, okay? What about if we did like a descending G major scale, like So, and Adam also, let's see, did you say you were, who was it that was talking about Apex? Just so you know, I've also played on a new Star Wars game. So if you've been playing that at all, I don't know if it's out. Is it out? Coffee time. But yeah, so there's the new Star Wars game out. I played a little bit on that. I did some, hey, Roger. No. Tuesday's not the new time. Why? Is that better for you? Because we haven't seen you in a while. No, my daughter was in town for a couple days, and yesterday was one of them. So I really felt like I needed to, spend time with her and not with you. Which every one of you understand that. So yeah, I hadn't seen her since the wedding. So, which is good, give her a little time on her own. I mean, they're up in they're in Spokane, so and Beth was supposed to go up there the day after Christmas. And I was supposed to go see my cousin Kent, and that week after Christmas, but both flights were on Southwest, and of course we know what happened there. So we all our flights got canceled, so Beth didn't get to see him, and so she hadn't seen her since the wedding either. And the wedding is not a place where you get to connect and spend time, and it was whirlwind to say the least. I can't even believe it's all behind us now, but it is. I mean, I've been talking about it since it was a thing, and now it's months behind us. I'm working a lot right now on a game called, funny thing is, it's called Stray Gods, which the composer that hired me for this game, he calls me Stray God, and then he gets a game called Stray Gods. It's just coincidental. It wasn't like anything. But yeah, he calls me a guitar guy, but he calls me Stray God sometimes or whatever. So, let's see. Do I have anything new? Any new instruments? I do. Oh, I do have a new instrument. You guys, where is it? Oh yeah, here. Where is it? Ah, here we go. I could show you. Let's see if I can pull it up here. Because I mentioned to you about swells and using that minor voicing for swells. Swells, basically, the way you create swells, and this is not necessarily anything that. Let me just tune this bad boy. I don't know that it's anything you're ever going to need to do, but it's kind of a way to sound like a synthesizer. And the reason that I'm not using this guitar is right now because the volume knob is not working. It's not working, so I got to get it fixed. I just got it, but it was used and it has some issues. So this is, it may be on the wrong. Here, let me do this. Get the ring. So it's a Fender Jaguar. It's a kind of a 60s reissue. It's not a vintage one. Yeah, it's Japan. It's a Japanese. The Japanese reissues are. When it comes to reissues, I feel like the Japanese ones are a little bit more even truer to the. So, but in I feel like it needs a setup, and it needs to be the volume knob either needs to be cleaned really good or replaced. I can clean it myself, but I'm probably just going to have it replaced. And then I'm probably going to put a mastery bridge on it because it's got the standard bridge. And the problem with the standard bridge is the grooves are too shallow and the strings pop out of them. All right, let's see if I can get a sound going here. So when you do swells, you just add a lot of reverb and a lot of delays, and then you have to have a volume pedal. And then what you do is you turn the volume pedal off, so heel down, you hit your chord, and then you go toe down slowly, and it swells in, so you don't hear the strum. So it doesn't sound at all like a guitar. So I'm going to show you that. But I'm going to start with a basic clean guitar tone. Let's see what we got here. See, it's cutting in and out. And the fact that if I force it, it stays on, and if I let go, it comes off, tells me the knob is bad. I do like the reason I got a Jaguar is because I love the pickup sounds on my bass 6. It's got a very unique kind of configuration, and you get some really cool sounds out of it. Not quite the same. The bass 6 has 3 pickups, but it's, let's see, that's the bass pickup. I don't have the whammy bar, it's in the case. There's a little bit of reverb on there. It's too loud, I think. And then, no, I don't use an expression pedal. I actually use a volume pedal. I actually affect the volume going in. I find that expression pedals can be a little laggy in that I do have the capability of setting up expression pedals. I'm in my studio rig, I mean on my live rig, it's an expression pedal that controls it, but this is actual real volume pedal. So basically you just do this and swell it in. But I can take this Valhalla room that I have, I go up to like 50% and I go up to like 9 seconds, and then I add a delay in there. Let me get rid of the compressor. Go with a delay. One thing you don't want to have is a noise gate, because what happens, the noise gate, what it'll do is it won't open until your volume pedal gets to a certain level. So you'll hear nothing, and then volume up from there. So yeah, it sounds good. Oh, Dennis is in the house. Dennis made it after all. Hey, Dennis. Good afternoon. Good Navan. Something like that. All right, let me just add a delay here real quick. Stereo. Let's go with a stereo delay. I'm going to turn the output mix up 50%, so it's like half of the sound is the delay, and half of the sound is the dry. I'm going to turn the regeneration, the feedback up, and so this is what swells sound like. Over there, but yeah, so turn the feedback down a little bit so that the chords aren't ringing too long, because if you put them too long, then anytime, it's fine if you're going from like an A to a C minor, C sharp minor, to an E. You know, those all complement each other, but if I go from like C to C sharp, then you get this horrible rub. But if you shorten the feedback, you can go back and forth. Can you guys hear that? Yep. I figured that. I can pull the low end off. Usually I turn the input down up when I'm doing it too. So. Hey, Aslan, what's going on? Is that better? Yeah, I guess embellishments with electric. So we're going to talk about, let's see. Hendrix. Those bottom end notes. Well, the room just vibrates that C note. If I have to turn this down. But Hendrix would, when he would do licks, but he would hit 2 strings at a time. Again, remember, he was in a trio. So he's like trying to imply the harmony. So it wasn't just, you know, he wasn't going. He would try to hit, like if I'm going to use that pentatonic shape, you know, the main one we all know and love, then he might hit 2 strings with each one of those and just go ahead and bar it. Just go. So practice playing 2 notes at a time of the pentatonic scales. You can do that with, you know, with you know, all the pentatonic shapes. Or playing 2 strings but hitting 1 note. We'll talk more about this coming up on electric. But yeah, so that's my new toy. Like I said, I gotta take it to my tech and have him swap out. Actually, Alex has a mastered bridge for me, so I'll do that. Alex and I'll do that. Alex may actually do this. He likes doing soldering jobs, so we may end up do that together. And then I feel like it needs a good neck adjust. It's a little. Yeah, it's just not the best, you know. I mean, it was a pretty good deal. So, and the other thing, I don't mind. I wanted rosewood fingerboard, but it's really dry and real pale looking. I like a dark rosewood, kind of a almost not glossy, but it just feels dry, you know. So I'm probably gonna have some kind of oil put on it when he does work on it and see, just to kind of darken up that. And get it less dry. I mean, my hands will do some of that, but not really. But even I've got Squires that have darker fretboards than that. And I also did created another cluster guitar. Oh, gee, it's got blurry again. So. Yeah, I do those swells in a lot of movie themes, or a lot of movie scores. Video games, a lot of video games, TV shows, things like that. It's an old school trick, and I'm blurry again. All right, come back now. Come to me. See if I go my face. Hey, Catherine. So frustrating. Walk away for a second and it just gets all blurry. You can see Culver. So you've been working a lot, and Monday morning are my worst day. It's like, I get it. Monday is just kind of random. I mean, I kind of like doing it at the beginning of the week. But let's see. And the mic I'm using actually is in that camera as well. Dang it. Let me see if I can get this. All right. Let's try to fool it into. It's acting up more than it ever has for some reason. I don't really see any adjustment on here at all. That's better. So, but I started recording. I'll probably finish it here as soon as we're done. I got to check my I've got various places up, cloud places I have to go to check and see. Usually somebody sends me an email saying, "Oh, I uploaded something new for you to work on today." So, okay. Nope, nothing there. Oh, I got an email from, let's see who that's from. Nope, okay, good. Don't need this, don't need that. All right. Gas bill is super high because natural gas prices are skyrocketing, so that bill was crazy. And I got the heat, I got it set at 65. All right, so let's see here. Do I have anything new? I don't think so. No, nothing new. All right. So, what else going on? Anybody got any questions? Back to work. Okay, see you later. Yeah, we got a quorum here. We got 36 people. So anybody got any questions? Unless everybody's got me up on every. Like I could go over here. I could go. Let's see if I go here, go to YouTube. Oops, why did it do that? Okay, go to YouTube. Oh, look, Tom Strahle's live. And I don't have to watch an ad. Okay, so I'm gonna turn the sound off. Did it just jump up to 30? Yeah, so now I'm gonna, wait, let's see if I can close that window. And, oh, it just dropped. It just dropped, that's funny. So, I could have me up on every device too. Or you could open up 10 browser windows and don't do it. So anybody have any questions or anything like that? I think we're going to keep working on this. I've got another Dadgad video that I've been sitting on that is almost ready to go. I just have to do the final thing. Do I have a favorite GarageBand drum beat to play along with? I don't know GarageBand drum beats. For writing pop stuff, I use, what's the one that, just the first one that drops in on when I create a drum. Let's see if it's, I don't know if it's the same. Let's see, drummer. If I go to hip hop and create, it creates this beat, and I think it's Concrete Jungle or something like that. That's for hip hop. No, I do not have a specific one that I like for from GarageBand. It's whatever one kind of works with you. And don't forget, you can change it, and you can change the tempo. You can make it less busy or more busy. It might be advantageous. I mean, if I pull up, let's see, let me pull up a rock drummer here. Might be advantageous for you to practice with a really busy drummer every now and then. So I'm going to pull up rock, and then I'm going to just take like whatever beat. Oh, this is half pipe. Let's do Crash the Party. I'm going to crank the fills up. Let's see what we get. I'm afraid. I'm very afraid. Oh, it doesn't look too bad. You can tell by looking at it, you know. It's pretty busy. Okay, let's try Echo Park. Here's a different beat called Echo Park. I'm in the rock drum kit, rock drummer. Let me turn the. So that's as busy and loud as it gets. Fills all the way up. Here it comes. Cymbal hit. Busy kick drum. And drum fill. That's pretty loud. It's probably distorting on your end. Yeah, so that's yeah, so but if you turn the fills all the way down, if that's an option, do I have? Surely I have GarageBand. Yeah, like I said, I don't open it very often. Sure. Oh, look, there's a beat. There's a Motown beat. If it loads. $80 BPM. I think I use this. Now I have the, oh, and the swing is up. You want to make sure that probably the swing is down at first. You go with like the simplest, here's the, you can drag, it's got an XY thing, just drag that to the middle, you get a real simple. You can even click off the percussion. You can even go to individual instruments and turn them off, like the kick, you can turn off the snare, hi-hat, whatever. But yeah, if I were to change it, here's a rock one. Again, 80 BPM, I could change that and go up to 120. I mean, that's a great, for writing, just give you something to play against. It's better than a click, you know, better than a metronome. It's just for practicing strumming. And then you choose a different kick pattern. You got options here. Boom, boom, boom. Imitate that drum groove. You know, try to go, you know. If you want, I got the fills up a little bit, but I didn't really hear any fills. I'm going to turn the fills all the way up. Sometimes the fills will inspire you too. Yeah, I might give you an idea of something. Might give you an idea or something that you can do to embellish your strumming, your right hand, the fill. So, but I usually, you know, if I'm trying to get inspired to write, I turn the fills off. I turn the swing off unless I'm doing like an R&B thing. Then I might turn the swing up to, is there a number? Yeah, 66 would be really swingy. Usually, you know, like in the mid 50s can give you kind of a fun feel. But the only trouble is, if somebody's locking to it and they're going to do straight eights, you know, it's not going to lock. You can also change it so the 16ths are swinging. But yeah, it's a great tool. Oh yeah, it's so much more fun than a metronome. It always feels like you're in a band. You know, you're halfway there. You just need a bass player. Yeah, in fact, you can even throw in a bass player if you want to put a bass part in. I could add a bass. Let's see. Software instruments, create bass, fingerstyle bass. That's one. That's weird. There's some effects on it. What's that? Why would there be effects on it? Oh, you know what? It's probably something to do with my other. Yeah, because I have GarageBand and Logic. Just need to quit. I have Logic open too, so it's probably creating some weird thing. Anyway, yeah. Live, no, just today, because yesterday my daughter was in town for a couple days, and so I wanted to spend time with her. So next Monday is the plan. What platform do you use to transmit music files with Austin and others? Dropbox. Austin and I use Dropbox mainly, and pretty much I have a Dropbox Pro account, so I have 2 terabytes. I think at least, which I don't think I'm anywhere close to filling up, although I don't delete stuff from Dropbox very often. So most everybody, and you know, it's easy to send a link to it, even if they don't have Dropbox, you can send a link and they can download it. So that makes it easy. Barton uses Box. Somebody else uses WeTransfer. I can't remember, but so yeah, those are the 3 biggies that I know of. WeTransfer. Sometimes Google Drive is another thing that people use. I don't get anything from Google Drive very often. Usually if it's like Google Drive might be something, if I were to get something from a director, like a scene from a TV show or movie that I've got to write music to or something, they might use Google Drive. But for the most part, the composers I work for and all the pop producers I work for, we use Dropbox, number 1. Number 2 is Box, and number 3 is WeTransfer. So, yeah, tune in next. Nice to see you, Keys. Appreciate it. Oh, Martin Murray, do you have a dedicated Dadgad guitar? Good question. Not really, but yes, kind of my Loudon, which is an Irish guitar, so it just to me sounds really good at Dadgad. I know that's racist, but you're from Ireland, so therefore you only play in Dadgad. I don't know if that's racist. That's what do you call that? Regionalist. So, but you know, certain guitars are voiced certain ways. I always noticed that guitar sounded better with drop D. Like if I put a drop D on it was like, oh man, that guitar sounds freaking amazing. But it's kind of a brassy sounding guitar, but it sounds really good in Dadgad. So I would say my Loudon that I actually used in that last Dadgad video, and I've got another Dadgad video that I may drop soon. I got to finish editing it. I keep saying that, and I'm just like, it's on the hard drive, and I got to go open it up and deal with it. So, but thanks, Quail. Let's see. So yeah, so technically I do guess I have but you know, if it's packed away right now, my Loudon. So if I were to want to do something with Dadgad, if I want to do some writing or want to come up with some ideas, I would just tune any guitar to Dadgad. It doesn't really matter. This one would probably be a nice one for Dadgad. It's a little bit smaller body, but I've got heavy strings on it, so to have them a little looser wouldn't be a bad thing. But I'm using mediums on that guitar right now, so. Adamer Silver, game over. Almost. Anybody else got questions about guitar stuff? Bruce, what did you say something that I need to deal with here? Yeah, and I definitely recommend using like GarageBand, or I'm sure there's if you don't have a Mac, a PC, there's a PC version of a kind of a drum machine, and you can get apps. I mean, I have on my phone, I have iMachine, which you can use to create. You see, you can't really see it, but yeah, volume's not up. So with this, I've actually done a little bit of writing with it when I'm on the road or whatever. That's why I got it, but not really that effective. Anybody got any picks for the Super Bowl? We thinking KC. If Mahomes is healthy and Kelsey's healthy. Travis Kelsey's healthy. We got the Kelsey Bowl. Um, uh, um, um, but I mean, I don't know. Both the teams I was rooting for lost. I'm not a Niners fan, but I was rooting for Brock Purdy because he's such a, he was Mr. Irrelevant, last person chosen. I was kind of shocked to find that he had a four-year contract though. They must have seen something in him to sign him for 4 years. But maybe rookie contracts start out at 4 years. I don't know. But 4 years, basically 3.7 million. Pretty good salary at 22 years old, 23. But then he got hurt on that first drive. So he'd had a phenomenal run. I mean, he'd taken, won 10 games in a row with the Niners. I mean, that defense was something else. But it couldn't keep him in this one. They didn't have a quarterback. That was crazy. They had Christian McCaffrey playing quarterback, which is frustrating. He only played a couple of plays like that. But that doesn't work because then you lose your best running back. It's like, yeah, that game was doomed at almost from the get-go. But the Eagles, because I was a Washington fan for years growing up, I never liked the Eagles, but so I don't know. But I just don't like the Mahomes Kelsey thing. It's like such a lock. It feels like to me that if they stay together, they could win 10 Super Bowls in a row. And I just don't like dynasties in football, even if my teams were the dynasties. But people like them because all of a sudden everybody's a Kansas City fan. All of a sudden, it's like you didn't even know the name of the team. So you're warming up lunch while listening. That's fine. Got to Zoom. Take care. Take care, Martin. Good to see you. Anyway, if Mahomes is 100%, which with a high ankle sprain, that's unlikely. But if he's 100%, then I think they'll win. But Philly has a knack for winning that Super Bowl. They have and it's the two number one seeds. Both the teams that didn't see. I think there should be some changes made in the playoff system because I think it's one thing to have home field advantage, but to have a first week bye, that's just, you get too many injuries in the NFL to allow teams to not have it. Technically, the Bills and the Bengals had a bye. They had an injury when Lamar, what's his name? Hamlin went down. Was it Lamar? No, not Lamar Hamlin. Can't think of his name. But for the Bills, they canceled that game, so that those teams, that's one less, because oftentimes with NFL, because injuries are so prevalent, it's kind of a last man standing kind of thing. It's whoever's got the most healthy players is going to win the Super Bowl. And that's how the Rams won last year, I think. It was like they had everybody healthy at the end. And that's part of the reason why I think they did the first week bye is to force teams to play their good players, the last week of the year, because oftentimes people, like a couple of years ago, it seemed like the last game of the season was like, who cares? Like they just put in the third string players. They didn't want anybody to get hurt. But the Bills. Yeah, you're picking the Bills for the Super Bowl. I would have loved it. I like Josh Allen. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in San Francisco because Trey Lance is their quarterback, and they did a $34 million 4-year contract with him. So how do you play this kid that won him 10 games in a row, got him into the playoffs? How do you play him over the $34 million kid, who's probably a very good quarterback, but we really haven't seen enough of him to know. And I think Brock was less a great quarterback, just didn't make a lot of mistakes, is my thinking. Oh, yeah, I understand. That was a heartbreaker. Yeah, that was a heartbreaker game. Damar Hamlin. That's it. Damar. I could not think of his name. The kid had a heart attack during the game. That was crazy. That was crazy. Um, so yeah, there's uh, yeah. So I don't know. I just think the Chiefs are hard to beat when they're healthy, but they're actually got a lot of injured players. So yeah, you know, I I don't know. Super Bowls tend to be weird too. Do you notice how, like, in some ways it's kind of nice because you don't have that advantage that, like, particularly Kansas City and Seattle have, because some reason their crowd noise really affects the game. The Colts got in trouble. My team, the Colts, got in trouble because they were pumping sound into the stadium. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to pump up sound. They were pumping up their sound with crowd noise through the speakers when other teams had the ball, and that's illegal. Can't do that. I think they got punished for that, and I agree with that. You shouldn't be able to do that. But the Kansas City is very loud, and the stadium. I understand why the Seattle Seahawks stadium, because that stadium is like really tight. I mean, you look at that stadium, the seating is like really crazy. Everybody's right on top of the field, and I could see where it could get really loud in there, and that's a huge advantage for the Seahawks. They use it. They called it 12th man. They used it for years. And then all of a sudden at Kansas City, which is kind of a flatter stadium, I don't know how it works, but it seems like they just are loud in Kansas City. So I don't know. We'll see. But that's not, see, the Super Bowl is always such a quiet game because you got about a quarter of the one team's fan. Like in Phoenix, you'll have a quarter of the seats available to Eagles season holders and a quarter of the seats available to maybe it's a little more than that, but in my head I'm thinking like a quarter, and then like half is all the other stuff. So, but let's say it's a third, and even if it were half and half, it still wouldn't be as loud because the Eagles fans are going to be quiet when the Eagles have the ball, and the Chiefs fans are going to be quiet when the Chiefs have the ball. So, so yeah, it's always, Super Bowls are always really quiet. And the other thing is the fan base that tends to go to the Super Bowls tend to be the, shall we say, a little bit more wealthy fan base, the season ticket holders. They're going to make those tickets available to the people they get the most money from. So they're not going to be the yellers. It's especially in Philadelphia. And I lived in Philly for a while. We had season tickets to the Philadelphia Eagles games, but we never got to use them because we ended up moving back to Indianapolis. So my dad and I were going to go to a season, but this would have been back in 70, 71, and they were awful back then. But yeah, that was the blue collar fans are the loud ones. They're not going to be the ones at the Super Bowl, sadly. So it's. Oh, I know a college team. We're the home team. He really. Who is that, Bruce? Is that Michigan? Now, the crazy thing about Michigan and Ohio State, don't they have 104,000 seats? Like, that's insane. But that's a very flat stadium. I mean, man, it's a giant stadium, but it's not like an NFL stadium where it's 60,000 seats, but they're right on top of each other. Yeah, Quail, I totally understand. Sorry. Yeah, sports balls. That's what my kids aren't into it. I'm the only one that's like into it. I've been an NFL fan since I was a kid. College, I follow Butler basketball because I went to Butler, but they're not doing very good this year. So, yeah, sorry about that, Quail. I'm happy to talk about guitar stuff. I'm just waiting for somebody to ask me some questions. But it's fine. It's 11 now. It's been 2 hours. I should probably log off it. Yeah, look at this. It dropped down to 19 there because I started talking about NFL. Yeah, it's crazy though because if you what was it? I was looking at like the top 50 rated TV shows of 2021 or whatever, and like 47 of them were NFL games. even the night of the World Series, you know, it was like there was a preseason NFL game that was more than a baseball championship game or something like that. So, hey, acoustics, what's going on? I'm getting ready to log off. So normally 107,601 seats. That's crazy. You know what I think, Bob, when I see that? That's insane. I think parking. I think, oh my gosh, what's it like getting out of there? I've been to Dodger games, and you know what? It's crazy as that is Dodger Stadium is up on a hill. It's really cool. It's a great stadium. I mean, it's got great views when you're up there. It just looks great. It's a fun stadium. It's like on top of a hill above LA. It's really, what the heck? You know, and I'm sure they got the land like totally they stole it or something, but yeah, you're too late. I put the guitar down. That's a problem. But yeah, it's a great, and they're pretty good at getting people out of there. You know, they're pretty darn good at getting people in and out of Dodger Stadium. I'm always impressed. I mean, it's, you know, I hear that I've not been to SoFi, which is the new NFL stadium, the $4 billion NFL stadium that we built here in LA, but I hear it is insane. I had my cousin Kent, his best friends went to the finals, the championship game, because TCU was in it. And they said that it was raining in LA. It was raining really bad that day. And they stood in the rain for 3 hours waiting for Ubers because the Ubers couldn't get in and out. There was so much demand for Ubers. There were too many, and it was unbelievable. They said it was awful experience. So yeah, they're gonna have to fix something over there at SoFi. They probably need to kind of do some kind of Disneyland free tram thing that takes you out to different stations. Kind of like they're working on right now. They've got this setup where they're going to take you to different places at LAX. That's the new thing that's got LAX all jacked up right now. But I think there's going to be 4 stations that you can go to. So if you're picking up family, you just pick the station that's closest to your house, and then they'll have these trams that go constantly to those stations. So kind of people mover kind of things. That's what they need to do. Quailsu's guitar question. What's my favorite tuner? My favorite tuner is one they don't make anymore. Is the IntelliTouch PT10 tuner. I really like this one. I ordered a bunch of these snarks, and I gotta tell you, I hate them because I love how bright they are, but it's dead. They eat up the batteries. Batteries are worthless, and that's part of the reason probably is because they're so bright. There might be a way to adjust the brightness. No, pitch calibrate. What's this? Tempo. Oh, this one has that's right. This one has a tap tempo thing on it. So that's different. But I have other snarks that don't do that, and the batteries are awful. Oh, dang. Now, I do have the Peterson tuner, the big one. And I used to use that a lot. Sorry, stupid. Come on. Focus. Oh, so frustrating today. I don't know why it's doing this so much. Hey, Catherine. What's going on? Come on, focus. Hello, I'm right here, camera. Do I have to get down here? Wait. You just come in. Yeah, see, I don't know what it's doing. We do the thumb thing. There we go. It's like it's shutting off or something. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I definitely like the. And then as far as a pedal board, I think I don't have a pedal board, but when I did, or when I had that the TC Electronics one. I have that somewhere here. But yeah, and then I've got now I'm using this little one a little clip one. I don't even know what it is, but it's a really tiny one on my main Strat for church. So that one's right there, but I can't really see it. I have to put it on the back of the headstock, and then it's upside down, so I have to go like, okay, which my flat or am I sharp? And I'm always like, oh, I'm flat. Okay. So that's kind of your TC Electronics Unitune, yep, or Polytune. Yeah, those are great. And for the on the floor, you know, whatever. When I'm using Logic, I've used the Logic tuners a lot of times, but often, and then so Quail, what I'll do is the great thing about like the Logic tuner, like I can set up a tuner. Let's see if you can see this. Hold on. Check this out. So I can have a tuner, and then it's just it's like this square tuner that's really precise, and then I can see if you can see this. I can reflect it. Let's see. Okay, ready? Here we go. Where's the tuner? There it is. See that tuner? No, I want. What do I want? Okay, I gotta be careful not to get feedback. Can you see that? Giant. Okay, now why do I do that? Well, I don't have it that big usually. Oh, sorry, I don't know if you could have seen that. Anyway, I don't have it that big usually, but I will if I'm playing like lap or dobra or whatever, or I'm doing swells or I'm doing slide with swells or things like that, and the music's really loud, but I'm trying to stay in pitch. I will use those to kind of keep me in pitch when I'm doing fretless or slide instruments. Things like that. Oh, Hal. Oh, thanks. I think I knew that, Hal. Sorry. That's why you said Hal. I was like, who are you talking to? But yeah, so it just depends. I don't really have one. Alex thought I should do a tuner shootout at some point, but there are people that do that better. But I could go to like. I could go to Sweetwater and I could maybe even talk to him about it. Say, hey, just send me all your tuners. Send me one of each or something, and I'll do a video, on them. I do want to do a video. I didn't get to it this year, and it's going to require me to buy stuff in advance so that I have the latest version of things. But I do want to do a video of stocking stuffer ideas for guitar players. Particularly weird kind of fun things. I love the, like if they still are marketing it, the spider capo, that's one of my favorite things to mess around with. I've got several of these. I've got, these are in a lot of my cases. Sometimes I will use two at a time. And sometimes I'll use two with these and with a regular capo or something to create some weird kind of voicings. G7th gave me this capo. They sent me a few capos. They gave me this one, and I use it. But the problem with eventually this they don't do it this way anymore. They have like a flipper thing now. This one will eventually kind of get loose and dead if you leave it on too long. You have to keep squeezing it. So I love the fact that you squeeze it and it stays in place, and you have to push the button to release it. But it doesn't. It's not perfect. Yeah, I mean, heavy slide, like glass slides are great. Slides are great stocking stuffer. So I'd like to do a video, things that are not expensive. Things, try to keep it under $25 if I can. But then I might do another video with things under 100. Stocking stuffers under 100 kind of thing. Be kind of fun. That would be a fun one to do. I could do a generic stocking stuffer without specific, company brands necessarily. I could just say, get them a capo, and here's like different capos you can get. Because that way it would be good every year. Tuners, you really can't have too many of them, right, Hal? Because I like to have tuners pretty much in every case of every guitar I take anywhere. The problem with that, though, is sometimes the batteries go dead. But if you're not using them, the batteries usually stay fine. I've never had a problem with a battery dying just because it was in the case. But so if your significant other has 5 guitars, they should have 5 tuners, one for each guitar, especially if they have cases. Capos, same thing. All my acoustic guitars have capos in the case, all of them. because I never know when. In fact, my favorite capo is I think in the Martin case, and that's the Hamilton capo, which is a great capo. But you know, I'm so utilitarian. I just throw a capo on. I just need a capo. I don't need it to be amazing. Capos have one job. If they do that one job, that's all I'm asking. Yeah, straps are a good. Actually, straps would be a good. Straps are fun. You can have a lot of fun with colors and things like that. But some guys like to have a Gibson strap on a Gibson and a Fender strap on a Fender. 60s, you know, retro straps are really fun. That kind of thing. So that's a good gift. Yeah, so I just, and strings, of course, picks, weird picks. Other, you know, they got me the blue chip pick, which is like 45, 50, 60 bucks. Actually use that for strumming. So in fact, I should use it on this when I strum this other track. That might be a nice little shootout because I got to do the rest. I got to do the second track for the thing. So, but yeah, so yeah, the IntelliTouch. I wish they made these still, but I don't see those anywhere. Let me look them up on Amazon. See if they're. I check every now and then. You know what else I'm trying to find is the jellyfish pick. Mine has a broken tine on it, but it's just this weird. Oh, it's rusty. It's right, and I broke one off. But you can see this jellyfish pick. Now it's like, what the heck is that? Well, it's supposed to try to make a 6-string sound like a 12-string. It doesn't really work, but boy, for playing like single note lines, it's when I'm looking for kind of unusual sounds. Yeah, the great thing about 3-inch straps, I don't have any 3-inch straps, but the great thing about those is it really does spread the weight of the instrument around. So that's, you know, what was I looking up? Oh, IntelliTouch. IntelliTouch tuner. Nope. Oh, wait. Freedom One wireless system. Okay, so they're making stuff again. Intelli, that's not the same company. Donner, no, they're ones that look like it. See that one and that, yeah. Yeah, the Snarks just kill the batteries. It's just a battery kill. Yeah, there's so many. Like, I wouldn't do a shootout because I'd have to spend like $500 on tuners. There's so many. Look at all these tuners. Holy cow. Crosby, I never heard of them. Diodario has tuners, 14 bucks. NO Music, no. Guitar tuner set, 2 set. Meland mini clip-on, you know, it's like Meland. Don't know what that is. So anyway, yeah. So I'm that's kind of, okay, yeah, I got to take off too, you guys. So thank you so much for hanging out with me and letting me have someone to talk to. So I'm going to get to work. I'll try to have this new video up today. I think I can pull that off. So God bless you all. Thank you for watching, Hal. I'll try to remember your name as Hal. Everybody that was here on Tuesday, normally we're Monday, so I'll try to be back next Monday unless work is just slamming me. But I've got a little break right now. I don't have all my Dropbox and all the Dropboxes and the boxes and the WeTransfer folders are all. Everything's gone their way now. So now it's got to come back this way. So I've got some new stuff coming up. Different things I'm working on. I may have to go to London for a couple weeks. I'll let you know about that. Maybe I'll live stream from there. That would be kind of fun.